What's up? What's up? What's up? What's up, my good people? We are back again for another installment of Won't He Do It Connection. Won't He do it? I know the Lord's working in your life right now. You're thankful and you're saying, yes, He will. This week, we're talking about complaining. We are talking about complaining and what God says about that in His Word. In addition to walking and getting our good health, doing something that's great and good for our body, enjoying the journey and the walk, and hopefully you are incorporating walking or a healthy living exercise into your daily routine. So let's just get into it before we go out and get our walk in today. I will tell you today is Saturday. April 13th. It's a beautiful day. I didn't walk this morning. I went fishing, caught me a couple of bass, which is great. I ain't gonna show no pictures because, I don't want to make nobody feel no type of way or nothing, but it's a beautiful thing to just enjoy the Lord's beautiful world, fish, relax, and, just enjoy a beautiful morning. And then, since I didn't walk this morning, we're going to get out there this afternoon and walk and build up a sweat and do something good for our health and good for our bodies. But I just want to give you a quick introduction to what I'm going to be talking about on the walking journey today. And we're talking about complaining and why we shouldn't do it. So let's just kind of get into it. I'm sure I'm not the only one. We're not perfect in this world, right? None perfect but the Lord. And even in His Word, we know that we should not complain because we are not perfect. Sometimes we fall into a complaint space. You know what I'm saying? I know the Milbo is not the only one out here, that sometimes falls into complaining. And if you do it, just go ahead and raise your hand and say, yes, I am guilty. I complain. But we should all be striving to improve in that area and not complain. You've heard the phrase, if you know better, you should do better. I so embrace these old sayings because it just brings back so many memories. If you know better, you should do better. And not only did our parents and folks that we grew up around tell us that, but we also learned that in Sunday school. We also learned that in Bible study and in BTU. Sunday was a full day. You had Sunday school, you had morning worship, you had BTU in the afternoon, you had Bible study on Wednesday night, a lot that we got into. But if you know better, you should do better. And sometimes we get caught up. We get caught up in the moment. But when we recognize that we're complaining, we have to just, repent and say, Lord, forgive me for complaining, because we know He has done some mighty things in our lives, right? He woke us up this morning. We get to breathe. We get to see the sun shining. He's done so much in our life for us. We should never have anything to complain about. Let's just go to the Word real quick and read the verse. Many verses out there about complaining, but this is the one that sticks out to me the most. And this is Philippians chapter 2, verses 14 through 16. And I know you know it because y'all been reading your Word, reading your Bible, and reading a verse every day. But Philippians 2, 14 through 16 says, do everything without complaining or arguing, so that you may become blameless and pure children and children of God without fault or in a crooked or deprived generation, in which you shine like stars in the universe. I'm going to read it one more time. Do everything without complaining or arguing, that you may become blameless and pure, children of children in God without fault, in a crooked and deprived generation in which you shine like stars in the universe. God in his word, he knows that this world, is crooked. He knows that there are some things in this world that are not right, and we have choices as people, the directions that we go. And, hopefully some things have influenced us in our life to go in the right direction. We all make mistakes. I say it all the time. Nobody's perfect. But if we're going to do the right thing and we want to shine, then, we can't shine if we're complainers. If we're complainers, you're dimming the light, because if you're a person of God, you shouldn't be complaining about anything, because we know God's got it, right? And if we know God has got it, what is there to complain about? Whatever our situations are, God allowed it to happen, which means it's part of his overall plan. We just have to get on board with it and understand that God has something greater and even better for us down the line. And once we recognize that, what is there to complain about? God did his work. Now we just have to get in line and move on. When we see people complaining, most times it's just a temporary lapse, in their faith, because a lot of times it comes from a place of fear, right? You're not quite understanding what's happening. You feel like sometimes how things are gonna go, and when it doesn't go that way, you're at a loss. You become fearful. Sometimes you think you're gonna get a promotion and you didn't get it. Somebody else got it, and you're trying to figure out how in the world did this happen. And you complain about this and that to anybody that'll listen, and how we do. Sometimes we will listen, and we've had friends where you listen to certain things, like the first go around, it's like, okay, I understand, maybe he's venting a little bit, and you let him vent. But now if he comes back again around week number 2 or 3 and he's still talking about the same thing, then you as a friend, and we had conversations about friendship, you have to tell that person, like, hey man, you got to let it go and let God. You know what I'm saying? There's no reason in complaining about it, because it's over, it's done with, and you don't want to be labeled as a complainer, right? If you're a good person and you reflect the Lord's character, then you have to let certain things go and move on. It's okay to vent, but once you've done that, let it go. When you're complaining, they say, because things that happen, a lot of times it's God's will. When you're complaining about a situation that you're in, or something that has happened that you didn't feel like has gone the right way, you're really complaining against God. Now, that statement alone should, really make you take notice. You don't want to fight with God. If God's plan is that, this doesn't happen for you at this moment, then you have to understand it's his will and it's part of his master plan, and that at some point things are going to work in your favor, because we know the devil is already defeated, and at the end of this journey we will win if it's in God's will. So keep that. I want to leave you here with just a few things. Instead of complaining about situations, we should just take it to God in prayer. We don't have to be including everybody else in what happened to us. You just talk to God. It's like, God, forgive me for second guessing you. Forgive me for this pain or whatever that I'm feeling in my heart. I didn't expect XYZ, and I'm bringing it to your feet. I am being, what's the word that they use? Submissive here. And, I'm just going to turn it over to you, Father. It was your will. Although it doesn't feel good, help me to get through this pain. And whatever is your will for me, I accept that. And you move forward. But just here's a few things, though, just to consider about complaining. What we allow into our system, what we feed on grows. So if you're a complainer, it grows into bitterness at some point. You become mad at the world. Everybody's against you, and so on and so forth. So what we feed on, what we allow into our spirit or continue to pile into our spirit, grows, and it's not always good. When I complain about my situation, I'm complaining about God, because God allowed it to happen. Complaining, grumbling, murmuring is contagious. It's like a cancer, and nobody wants to be around it. If it's your friend, they'll listen to you, let you vent, let you get it off your chest. But in the grand scheme of things, it pulls everybody down when you're always complaining about something. It's impacting their spirit now. So be mindful of that. And when you're complaining about something, yeah, you're getting it off your chest, but you're also putting it on somebody else. Complaining hardens the heart. You become bitter, and your heart starts to harden, because you feel like you've been wrong, and now you're not being forgiving to other people, because you feel like other folks should hurt, and it's okay for other folks to hurt, and it's not. So let's get the complaining out of our spirit. If you see somebody and every time you see them, they complaining about something, then their life is off track. You know what I mean? Every time you see them, they complaining about something, and it gets to a point to where you hate to see them coming. They like slept rock on, was it the Flintstone? And every time slept rock came around, it was bad news, and people got to the point they didn't want to see slept rock coming, or they seen slept rock coming, they trying to go the other way, because they don't want none of what he going through rubbing off on them. I don't want none of that bitterness or that hardened heart getting into my spirit. And if that's what you coming with all the time, at some point people have to close it off. It's like, oh, nope, not taking any of that in. Sometimes people give in to the complainer, and I think sometimes this is what happens, where people being a complainer becomes a lifestyle for a complainer. It's like if you got some type of retribution through complaining, then you feel like you can complain all the time and get retribution. But this is one thing I would tell you, that you cannot complain your way into heaven. You cannot. Complaining will not always give you the victory. And, if you're going down that path, that if I don't get what I want, I'm going to complain all the time. The complaining got to stop somewhere. Complaining will not get you into heaven. In God's word, he says that you should not do it. I'm not saying that it's a sin, but the word says do everything without complaining. I want to thank you for listening to my little short introduction here. Now we're going to go out and walk today, and my discussion today as I walk is going to be about complaining and what the Lord says about complaining in his word. Won't he do it? Yes. Yes, he will. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. What we doing, Milbo? Man, we back at it again. We out here. We getting our walk on. Got a great topic for you guys today. Great topic. Thanks for coming out and walking with me. We on the journey, man. We're trying to keep this health thing going. Hopefully this is encouraging somebody. I apologize for the brightness. As I mentioned in my introduction, I did not walk this morning. Went fishing instead. So we're in the afternoon. We're out here. And if you're here in the southeast somewhere, man, it's been so windy. We had some bad weather come across the south, some tornadoes, things like that. No issues here in my county here in Georgia. Some places in Georgia got hit, but if you had any issues out there with the tornadoes or anything like that, bad weather, hopefully it's not so bad and you're making it through. Here though, we got a lot of high winds and the temperatures were down. You know what I mean? It's like just when you think all the cold weather and everything is going about its business, we get hit with all these high winds and, a dip down into the 40s. So today, what we're talking about is complaining. I know everybody's aware and have had some experience with that. And that was sort of a little bit of an example that I just gave about complaining. Complaining that we had high winds and it got a little cool, but shouldn't even complain at all, because some people, their weather was much more intense. We had a little high winds, but didn't have any damage, no trees down. Some people got hit by a tornado. So there's our lesson. The Bible tells us that we shouldn't complain because God has done so many great things in our lives to bless us, right? And if you don't do nothing else, He's already done enough. And you just have to be thankful. Even when it doesn't work in your favor, things come up a little short. You have some misfortune. You can't blame that on God. I'm kind of reminded of, I always go back to my dad. And he says, what goes around comes around. You're going to have some times where things don't work in your favor. You know what I mean? And so you just have to be grateful and thankful when things do work out and things are positive. And then on those times where things aren't that great, you just have to pray about it. You know what I mean? You turn it over to God's hand. You don't blame nobody for it. You just understand that God is operating His plan and that your ship is still gonna come in. It's just not today. It may be a later time for your ship to come in. Now, the thing that we have to do is make sure that we don't rush it, that we don't get angry. So many people out there get angry with God. They get angry with Him because they feel like they know better than God, like they should have gotten something. I hear people complain all the time, like, I want a 4-bedroom, 2-bath house. I want a new car. I want a new truck. Some people don't have a house. Some people sleeping on the street. Some people homeless. Some people don't have transportation at all. I mean, if you have transportation to get you from point A to point B, be thankful for that. You know what I mean? And if things aren't working out the way that you think they should be, sometimes you have to look at yourself in the mirror. Why did it not work out? You can't always put that on God. You know what I mean? Sometimes God has your destiny and everything all lined up for you to walk into it. And then we don't do what we're supposed to be doing. You know what I mean? We don't follow up. We don't go the extra mile. We don't study. We don't network. And your opportunity, not saying that it's over, but it's delayed. We know we already had a victory. And God says whatever you ask in his name, he will grant you your heart's desire. You know, now you just have to go out there and fulfill, you know, do the work, put in the work, put in the effort, give God all the praise. You can't do nothing on your own or by yourself. It all comes through him. So if something didn't work out in your favor, there's no need in complaining about it. Just got to roll up your sleeve, get back in the fight, and make it happen. God has already promised it to you, you know. But if you complain, that's what we always say. If you complain about it, you think that's going to make God jump any faster because you complaining about it? Who are you? We are God's children, and yes, he does answer prayer, but he doesn't answer to your complaints. You know what I mean? You take it to him and you leave it at his feet and say, God, wherever I fell short, strengthen me. And then you go back at it and try it again. But if you're going to try to box with God, then guess what? Your blessing going to be delayed again. He's going to make you run another lap. That's what they say. Like how I used to get in trouble at practice. You did something you weren't supposed to do, and now the coach make you run a couple of more laps until you get it right. That's how it is when you complain. You complain to God about something. Sometimes it make you run another lap. Learn your lesson. Be diligent. Follow his rules. Follow his word. And sometimes he'll deliver it to you. But it's in his time, not your time. So stop complaining. And at the end of the day, don't nobody really want to hear on the for real. And we sometimes tolerate our friends because they're our friends. And we want to be a listening ear. We want them to know that we're there when they are down, when they're going through something. But ultimately, we want them to be strong. You know what I'm saying? We want them to fight the good fight. We want them to not complain about their shortcoming. But sure, if you want to discuss what happened, maybe, if there's some things that you can do better the next time, get some encouragement. Yeah, but coming with complaints, woe is me, this is unfair, they did this, they did that. The question always comes back, well, what did you do? What did you do to cause them to make that decision? And sometimes maybe it's not even situations or persons. You know, you can complain about the light bill too high, complain about this, complain about that. Like at the end of the day, everybody got problems. Everybody got problems. But is everybody dumping their situation or their problems in your lap? No. They're dealing with it. And you have to deal with your own. The Bible says, do everything without complaining. And I'm a firm believer that is true. Now, sometimes we have a lapse in judgment, before we recognize it, we're at a point where we're complaining. And we're human. We understand we're going to slip, we're going to fall sometimes. But when you recognize it, you should stop immediately and say, Lord, just bless me. Or Father, just be with me and walk with me. I don't understand why this is happening to me. And I'm going to try to dig into it and learn from it. And I'm just going to use you as my guide to try to figure out how I can turn this situation around, or how I can aid this situation to work in my favor. And then you leave it alone. You know, somebody else getting blessed, and you feel like you're not getting blessed, and it's just not your time. Wait your time. What are you doing that's blocking your blessing? You know, sometimes it might be people you have around you. You got a bunch of folks around you complaining. People think you're a complainer too. That might block you. What they call the aura that comes from you. You know, sometimes you can kind of give off, sort of I won't say a bad sense, but sometimes people may have an uneasy feel. You know what I mean? Sometimes you're in the wrong place at the wrong time. Was that somewhere you were supposed to be? I don't know. Sometimes it's just chance. Sometimes it's God is seeing how you're going to work through a situation. Sometimes you're in a situation because God is doing a work in somebody else's life. Are they going to come to your rescue? We don't know. We don't know why things happen. But what I do know is that you cannot get to heaven by complaining. You will not gain the victory by complaining. You just have to be diligent in what you do. Ask God for his guidance and help, and continue to be a shining star in this world, because people are looking at you. If you're calling yourself a Christian, they observe everything that you do, where you walk, where you talk, where you respond to different things. And we have to be an example for those folks that are lost. And if we're going to be a shining light, we have to shine brightly so that those folks that are at a crossroads can pick up the mantle and carry it and come to Christ. Now, if you out there doing complaining and all sorts of things that are dimming your light, calling yourself a Christian, then we have to turn from that and start walking a straight path. And we all understand that we have shortcomings. We're always a work in progress. And when we make mistakes, we ask for forgiveness. Lord knows our heart, and he will forgive. And every step we take, we should be taking a step for improvement, to do the right thing, to follow his word, and to lead others and not complain. I sure appreciate you for walking with me today. Won't he do it? Yes, he will. Won't he do it? Won't he do it? Yes. Yes, he will.